about to head off to the vet. So I'm out of antibiotics, and 2 lambs, so both Ziggy, one of my bottle lambs, has a limp. And I noticed Ryeneck, who's with both of them are in a previous video I did, also has a bit of a limp as well. So usually with limps, so under the age of about 10 days old, the very high likelihood that is joint ill. So especially if you can feel swelling in the joints, which I could, especially Ryeneck, massive amount of swelling. So I booked them in because they will die without antibiotics, just clearly looking at the kind of infection that are in their joints. And usually it comes up, they get it basically at birth or within that 24-hour period of their umbilical cord being exposed. And then it can take days, it can take weeks, up to 10 days before it shows up in any sort of form of symptoms. That very quickly escalates. So that can go from being a bit of a limp, a bit of temperature, to basically being dead in a day or two. You can take them a bit longer. It does depend on the animal, depends on their colostrum. Very low odds without antibiotics to survive. It's possible, but to be honest, I'm trying to think of times that I've seen it happen, but not very often, is the answer to that. So no antibiotics in the fridge. Well, it is, but it's all a bit gross and not usable. So the decision was made that I need to go get some. So off we go. So I just wanted to mention that basically in Australia, and I'm pretty sure it's Australia-wide, is you can't get antibiotics without going to the vet, and they have to see the exact animal. This is because obviously antibiotic resistance. We don't want anyone just going and putting antibiotics straight into anything that looks half sick or that might need it, and that makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, as farmers, what we find is can't just take every animal to the vet. One, economically not viable for a little lamb to go to the vet, but 2, oftentimes by the time you get into a vet, it's too late. So for the example of Ziggy, so he's a little lamb, he's a meat lamb. If he grew well, so that would be like 50 kilos, 55 kilos live weight, he would be worth about 200 kilos without, $200, God, maths, my strong suit, $200 at market. So if I wasn't paddock to plating him, that's roughly what his price would be. And with that, he's about $155 for a milk bag, like a replacer bag that we use. They usually go through about basically a bag per lamb that we have as a bottle, sometimes a little bit less, but so he's already sitting at $45 that we make off him in that time, not including any hay that he gets later on when he's weaned. And then if you take him to the vet, which is going to cost you probably roughly, I don't even know, but it'll be around $100 just for the appointment. And then possibly up to about $150 once I get the antibiotics that he needs that I have to inject over the next couple of days into him. So for all of the effort and what it's worth, it's just not worth it to take a lamb, and that's not fair for vets, it's not fair for farmers. It's the way the system works. We want the best for our animals, but if you can't obtain it in a way that you have to pay your bills, you can't. And the vets want the best for animals too, but they also have to pay their bills. So there's an issue there in the system that's broken in regards to farmers. And I'm doing this, so what I'll do is I usually do it once a year, and I take the first lamb that needs antibiotics, and I've got a good relationship with my vet. He's seen my systems, he's seen all the things that I do, so he gives me extra antibiotics and anything else that I need in my stock, in my kit, so that I've got it on hand. This year, obviously, the antibiotics that I thought I had wasn't ready, so that's what makes it worth it for me now. I can get antibiotics that can save other lambs, other calves, other animals' lives. And I also learn, so if I've got something wrong or I'm not sure about something, I can find out what that might look like and what I can look for next time. We are off to the vet. just back from the vet. I've got Ziggy back in the paddock with Nora, and I've got Ryanek back out with Evie in the main flock. And I took them into the vet. He had a look. They both have joint L, both got antibiotics. He gave me a full bottle of antibiotics that I can now use to save more lambs for the next 12 months, and they could use that for calves as well, or any other animal, within reason, of course. Went up to pay at the counter, and he didn't even charge me the appointment fee. He just charged me for the antibiotics straight and the scab, and that's it. And just thinking about on the way home how really bloody lovely that is. They know, the vets know how hard it is for farmers to do the right thing if it's, with all of the issues that lie ahead of them in terms of cost. Sometimes people do really lovely things, and it always just knocks me back a little bit, thinking how grateful I am for those things. So that man has made my day. I was right when they needed them. It was all the things, but he, instead of having to pay $110 for just to see him, and he's used his time, he didn't charge it to me. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning. It's been a cold night, frosty night, -1 or something, I think. And I've just come out and to give Ryanek her extra bottle. Hello. And she's struggling to stand up on her own, so that infection is starting to take hold. She had a jacket on overnight, so she's not freezing cold, but she's not warm. She's not feeling very well. So I will take her up now and try and get her warm, see if she improves, and give her a bit more antibiotics. And it might be too late for the antibiotics to really be able to fight the fight, but we'll find out. I've seen stranger things, but she's not doing very well now, so let's go give her some love. Just conscious of how sore she is, so you can hear making those little sounds. That's almost definitely pain. So she's still sitting upright, so she's a good little fighter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her a little bit of pain relief, Buchanese, anti-inflammatory. I'm going to set her up with a little heating pad, keep her warm, and I'll pop her inside the lamb shed somewhere cozy. Probably not quite ready for antibiotics, but if her state remains like this, I might give it to her slightly early. And all we can do is hope the antibiotics get there in time and she hangs on. But this is what joint L looks like. So the next stage after a limp and possibly slightly inflamed joints and maybe a mild fever is a significant fever. And what's happening is where that infection was in her back leg is now moving throughout her body. So she's probably starting to go a little bit septic, probably in her bloodstream now. This is when you really start to be fighting a losing battle. I wouldn't say it's all over yet, but it's starting to get to a point where we have to turn the tide. But anyway, I'll give her some pain relief and put her somewhere she can rest nice and warm. There's some morning for you. And Ziggy here, on the plus side, out of the two lambs that went to the vet, Ziggy is doing better. So, good work, Zig. Yeah. Good job. So this is normal weather for this time of the year. I think we're sitting at about -3, feels like -6.5. Normally it's wet and windy and just absolutely feral first week of June. except we've had no rain. So all we have is ice, no grass, and there's definitely nothing growing right now. But it makes me glad that we lamb a lot earlier than we used to. We used to start lambing the last week of May, first week of June now, and we're well over halfway with all ewes on the farm, and my main ewes are all basically done, so thankfully. The sun is out now here. Couldn't even tell it was that cold. Good morning. Had a little nap. See, Zeke's still got a limp there. I'll probably give him his antibiotics now too. And that's what I'm here for. I came out to get antibiotics for Rhineck. Quick look at the sheep. They're all doing fine. The sun is glorious. It's always glorious on those still winter days. Thaws out the bones. When I went into the lamb shed to give Rhineck lamb some antibiotics, she looked very poorly and has taken a turn for the worst. I understand that can be very difficult for a lot of people to view, and have therefore chose not to show the footage and just show her nice and cozy in front of the fire. Alrighty, I've just given her a needle full of antibiotics. I don't think it's going to do much, but you're going to have to trust me because I didn't have a tripod to film it. And I've brought her into here. So this is a very usual setup I would have, a washing basket with a towel or some bedding, something soft and warm in there. This is something that Jimmy is very used to, and we do if we feel like the animal is really struggling or it doesn't have long left. This just allows them to be in a warm, cozy environment where they, if there's noises going on around them, people can give them a pat. And for whatever hour or two or morning they have, they can not feel alone and they can feel warm and cozy, and that's how we feel is a fitting end if we can. We don't always get to them in time, but if we do get the opportunity, we will. And to be honest, that's a more of a benefit for us. I don't even know how aware they are of what's going on now, but as farmers, this kind of thing can be confronting to everybody else, but we deal with this more regularly than we would like, and in order to feel, okay about it and to deal with it on a regular basis and to still care, little things like this help with just feeling like we've done our best, and that she over there can have, an ending where she feels loved and secure, which is I think what everyone would want, no matter, lamb, dog, human, and that's something that we can give her, so that's what we will do. Vets say that about 50% of animals that have antibiotics when they get joint ill or navel ill will survive. That's the odds after they've got the antibiotics. And I didn't really want a great example of how quickly it can happen. I said it already before I knew this was going to be the outcome, but it's so quick sometimes, and maybe I missed half a day before I noticed the signs, and that can be all that it takes really to get into her system quicker than I can treat it. So that's an outcome that's disappointing, but we also have the other side and the other 50%, so Ziggy looks like he's going to be just fine. It's still possible that he isn't, but looks like the antibiotics are working, and you win some and you lose some, and in farming we sort of know that and we have to deal with it, and to be honest with you, it's still seriously disappointing for me and anyone else that does this kind of stuff, and just because we get, in a sense, used to it doesn't always mean that it hurts any less or it's not as disappointing, but we have all these other animals to look after. Part and parcel of the job, but pretty darn good example, whether I meant it or not, of what joint ill looks like specifically, and the varying flips of a coin of life that lambing and even any form of animal rearing can bring. So we'll move forward and we'll appreciate and be grateful for the life that we do have and the great outcomes that we have. Maybe I might have to go give Ziggy a bit of a hug. Can't be feeling too bad.